Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my podcast, Prompt Me, Please. It's your girl, Tatiana, the Prompt Coach T, and I am super excited about my guest today. I know I say that but I genuinely really do be excited about the people that I bring because I feel like the people that I know, the world should know. And I'm letting you guys in on the type of conversations that I have with these lovely people, okay? So today's episode, we're going to be talking about the importance of raising awareness for men's mental health. And funny enough, I literally asked my husband, I said, babe, did you know that you guys had a month to raise awareness for men's mental health? And he said no. And this is why I'm setting the intention now. This is why this podcast is necessary. So ladies, any man that you know in your life that needs to watch this episode to get some insightful information, remember, this platform is for you to think different, to do different, so that you can be different and be your best self. So you're going to learn more about my guest's story and who he is and how he does it. And just overall, for my community of men, you guys deserve the self-care and the self-love that you guys promote everybody else to do. I know you all see yourselves as protectors and providers, but you all need that same energy returned back to you. So I hope you enjoy it. So this guest today is very near and dear to my heart because it's been over 15 years, over 20 years probably, of him being in my life, my family's life. He is the godfather to my son. I don't play about him. He don't play about me. He has seen me grow up, and he has just seen me in all seasons of my life. And he is a wonderful, wonderful human being. When I think about him, it's the wisdom that I get from him every single time. He is a man of God. He loves God. If you talk to him, you will know it. Okay. And I just love how much of a family man that he is. You call on him. He's so dependable. He'll come running like, what you need. Okay, it's handled. It's done. That's what I'm saying. Like, okay, okay. So without further ado, you guys, I want to introduce to you Mr. Jasonni Washington. Hey, brother.
Hello.
You are here at the couch.
I'm here. I was wondering when I would get my chance. I've been seeing the podcast and people popping on.
Yes.
So I'm like, I'm gonna wait.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait my turn.
Right. I knew I had a spot some point.
Absolutely. And it was so funny because when I had texted you, you was like, I knew you would be coming to ask me. And I'm like, cool. All right. When can we do this? So I just want to say thank you so much for being here and taking the time out. We was
Always.
even, when we get together, it's a laugh, it's a key. We gonna talk, we gonna drop some gems and just spare, like a lot of love and wisdom. And so today we're just going to be talking about raising awareness for men's mental health. So first of all, tell the people how we know each other.
So we know each other from church. Mm-hmm. And the beautiful thing about church growing up in our time was that it was very family oriented. Mm-hmm. And it's just extended family. Mm-hmm. And we did so much in church. And
tell them all the things you used to do.
Who?
You. When I was growing up, all the things that you used to do.
So that's what I was going to say is that, like, I was part of our youth ministry. Mm-hmm. And I think that naturally, for me, being a part of youth ministry, whenever I saw a need with the youth, I would try to address it. Mm-hmm. And more so just be there for support. Mm-hmm. And so as Tatiana said, I mentored Tatiana. I mentored her brother James. I mentored her sister Camilla.
Yep.
I mentored the Minifields.
Yep.
And just took them under my wing, not because they parents asked, but because I just felt I wanted to do it. And part of it, too, is speaking about mental health, is that I wanted to do what, was done for me in some senses.
So
where
important.
I had this cousin that would come and take us. I learned about the museums through my cousin. I learned about like the different parks. I learned about just a bunch of different things because of my cousin and my uncle. That would just come and just take us somewhere.
Yeah.
Back in the day, being jam-packed in a little station wagon.
Come on now.
And taking us places. And so I'm like, I wanted to give back in some senses because that's what was given to me.
Yeah.
And I do this with my nieces and nephews
Yeah.
now.
Yep.
It's like
Still
we take
do.
trips. I find meaningful things to do for them.
Yeah.
Because I want them and I want people to, in a nutshell, just feel valued and to feel important.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to be my family in order for that, to happen.
Yeah. I mean, and you did it so well, and it was effortlessly too. And I love, like, how you said it was so family oriented, but like our parents just trusted you with us, and they knew, like, you looked after us like we were your own children. And you don't have your own children. And so I think that that's the most impactful thing about it, because you can be selfish with your time. You could be like, I don't have time. Here's some money and go and get out my face. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But it wasn't. Like, the times that we've spent with you has been meaningful. It's always a teachable moment with you. There's always a lesson and everything. And I just feel like you're, with the span of your career, you got decades in this work of working with youth, especially. You're walking in your purpose, and it's a beautiful thing to see. So I do have an icebreaker question for you, and it's before we dive into the serious stuff.
Okay.
I have to ask, what's one piece of advice that you remember giving me or my generation during our time that you still give to young children or young ones today?
That's a hard question.
Yeah.
Only because I don't say that I value the work that I do, but I don't do it to pat myself on the back.
Of course.
So a lot of the stuff I don't remember.
Oh, okay.
I just give it from my heart and hope that it's received to the next person's heart. And then if they remember it, then I'm just like, that was something that was meaningful, something that I said that was important. But I think one of the things that, regardless of who I talk to, whether it's somebody in the church, whether it's somebody in the school, somebody I just meet, like on the street, is like, really just be true to yourself and be honest with yourself. And it's okay to fail.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that I wanted to convey to you all was that don't allow anybody to judge you for your mistakes.
Yeah.
You made a mistake. Own up to the mistake or whatever, and then let's move on. How do we do better?
Yeah.
I mean, I pose this question back to you. Yeah. What is one of the things that you remember?
Let me tell you how we're so much in alignment, because I was going to tell you the role that I remember you taking very seriously, and you would drop gems. When we was singing the choir, you were the president of RDJS at the time. And
I do remember one statement then.
What? But you used to tell us that presentation is everything.
Yes.
So, after rehearsal, you would give your remarks, and this was to prepare us for us about to sing on Sunday. And so the way that we would come in, the way that we would march, the attire that we would wear, how we give glory to God, because you always told us we're doing it for the audience of one and not for, the people that's out there in the crowd. But presentation is everything. It stands out to me the most, because how you prepare is how people will see you. Yeah. And so when we're up there, RDJS was such a great time too. And I just love that generation when we were in that time, was how all of the adults, the choir directors and everything, like, it was one big family. Yeah. And so we would have our fun at the rehearsals, but we knew to reel it back in, we ain't up here to play. Right. And so, our generation back then, all you had to do was look or snap a finger real quick and we'll tighten up, because we're sitting up here on this platform and literally everybody can see you. Yeah. So that's something that stood out to me in regards to that. He was like, now I do know that. Okay. What was a pivotal moment or experience that drew you into the mental health work that you do, particularly focusing on young people?
It's crazy because like this is not what I thought I would be
Really?
doing.
What?
When I went to college. It's crazy. And I told people this story all the time that when I went to school, my dad told me, if you go away, I'm not helping you.
Okay.
So I did not go to school right away because I'm
Okay.
like, I don't know what I'm going to do.
Right.
I really wasn't told about college like that. And so Mandel Crawley
Okay.
was my inspiration for going to Northeastern.
Really?
Because he went to Northeastern.
Okay.
And so I was like, he's going to Northeastern, I can go to Northeastern. Let me find out information
Really?
about that. And so then that was how I got to Northeastern because of him and my cousin Tiffany Dodson.
Okay. So they helped you get in? That's what you said?
It's not that they helped me
No?
get in, but
Okay.
I knew that they went to Northeastern.
Oh, okay,
So I
okay.
knew of a college.
Okay.
And that was reasonable. I could afford it. I paid out of my pocket
Wow.
for the first 2 years.
Yeah.
But it was crazy because, they tell you at the end of your sophomore year, you got to pick a major. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, get the book. And at the time they had
Come on,
these
book.
booklets. It's just like I'm telling my age. And so I get this book and I said, okay, Lord, the first thing I open this up to, that's what I'm going to major in.
Really?
I opened it up and it said accounting. And I was like, no, let's try this again.
Wait a minute, Lord. I don't think. Wait.
I don't think that's it. But then I went back and I opened the book up and it said psychology.
Really?
And I said, okay, that's what I'm going to major in.
Wow.
Not knowing much about psychology.
Right. You didn't have
Not
background
knowing, no.
context.
But I knew about accounting. And I was like, okay, do I want to punch numbers all day and all of that? And I'm just like, oh, no, I don't think so.
Yeah.
And I opened up and it said psychology.
Yeah.
So I went through school.
Yeah.
And I started working at this inpatient psych facility. Mm-hmm. And again, it's just my natural tendency to want to see youth be better. Mm-hmm. And I remember one of the social workers told me, why do you keep telling these kids that they can get better? Setting them up for a false sense of hope.
Really?
And I was like, how do you say that when that's why they're here?
Yep.
So that they can get better. And I said, okay, that's one to say, I know this is not the place for me. And then I noticed that at the time they were sending kids here from school. And I'm like, how do you come from school to the hospital? That don't make no sense to me. And then the third thing was I had these 3 boys that came, and they all came at the same time, got admitted at the same time. And I'm just like, it's something different about them. Because they came in at the same time, didn't know each other, but they made a pact together.
Okay.
And so at night, I would sit at the other wall, and while I'm writing my notes, I would talk to them, and they would lay at the door, and we would just have conversation.
Wow.
And one of the boys said, Jasonni, why are you here? You should be a doctor because you seem to care about us. And the doctors, they just want to give us a pill and send us back into the community to the same spot for us to be back here because we're getting put back into
Like
the
a
same
revolving
environment.
door.
Like
Yeah.
a revolving door. But you're talking to us and you're giving us tools. You're showing us that we can be better. You're telling us that we can be better. You're not in the right space.
Yeah.
And I sat there and I'm like,
How old?
you giving
Right.
me bits
I was
of
just
wisdom?
about to say, how old were the boys?
They were
they were
13, 14,
real
15.
teenagers.
Teenagers. And then we're talking about communities, what's happening in the communities. And they was like, the doctors, they don't care about us. They don't even ask what's going on. They don't even ask us what's happening.
Yeah.
And so I'm just like, it sparked my mind of I need to go back to school to get my master's. So I can do different work on a different side. Because I would tell them, look, I want you to get better because if everybody in this population got better,
That's right.
then they will create a different position for me.
That's
so
right.
I'll still be employed.
Yeah.
So please get better.
Yeah.
So that I can do different type of work.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because those 3 boys, before they got discharged, they got discharged together. I gave them the book called The Pack. And I wrote something in each one of their books about them.
Yeah.
And I was like, read this because The Pack is about 3 doctors.
I read that. It's actually a really good story.
It's a really good story.
Based on a true story.
Based on a true story.
Yeah.
Based upon their lived experiences and how they used each other to get them through.
Yeah. That is so good. Because I was going to say, with particularly young men and like the boys or the young adult boys too, like they just naturally tailor to you. Like true fun fact, we worked together. He was my coworker. And so I got to see you do what you do at church, at school. And how you showed up at church was how you showed up at school, which is how I know for you to be whatever you do, it's true because you showed up consistently. It wasn't like, you don't be acting like this at church. No. Who you see right now is who you are. But that speaks to your character too. But speaking of, they would just come, hey, Mr. Washington in there. Mr. Washington, you got some candy for me. Mr. Washington he ain't here. Go to class.
But you know what? And even in those moments, like, I think that I would never turn anybody away.
No, for sure.
Even like since you spoke about like the students at school, like one of the things I recognize is that like they try to get out of class.
Yeah.
And every time they try to get out of class, I would tell them like, you can get out of class, but you're going to talk in here. And we're going to talk about like some serious stuff. We're going to have conversation or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I would always use it as an opportunity to like really have dialogue with them. Like you're trying to manipulate in one way.
Yeah.
And one of the beautiful things about it was they did not stop coming.
Yeah.
They will continue to come.
Absolutely.
Even though they was trying to get out of class. They knew you coming in here, we're going to talk.
Yep.
And they'd be like, and after a while, they'd be like, all right, Miss Washington, I'm going to go back to class.
Yep.
You know, and so that was the beautiful thing about it was like you just find a different way to engage with them, and a lot of times it's through snacks, through candy.
The most simple, basic things that I do think that people be missing is like, you be like, oh, yeah, let me get some chocolates. All you gotta do is go to Dollar Tree, Family Dollar, Walgreens, whatever. You get extra candy from someone. I'm saving these for these kids. You want them to? I'm saving these for like you. Just always paying it forward and already. But it's the small, simple things that you do that shows your level of care. Yeah. So they already knew how you were coming. How has your own relationship with mental health and self-care evolved throughout your career with counseling?
So that's one of the things that I was thinking about and like agreeing to do this. And I look back on my own life and sometimes I get emotional, like talking about it. 'Cause you know my lived experience. And so my mom died when I was 8. And, I just had this, I just felt this at 8 years old. People just wanted me to get over it. And I'm like, I don't know how to get over it.
Right.
Like, how do I go to bed at night and then I wake up the next morning and I turn around and I look in the room and I see the ambulance taking my mama out with the sheet over her head.
Yeah.
And to never see her again. And nobody explained what was happening and what was going on. And I remember in therapy, because I did therapy during the pandemic.
Okay.
And I remember telling the therapist that I remember going in the closet and closing the door. And it was jet black. And I remember coming out of the closet, and that's why I left my childhood. And like a lot of times people don't really understand me because they don't understand what's happened.
That's
like, right. Back then. And so it was that point that I recognized that a lot of my internal things were happening because I'm left in that dark place. And so one of the things is I don't ever want people to like feel like they're alone or feel like they by themselves or whatever. And I'm just being transparent.
That's right.
Oftentimes,
That's right.
I feel that way.
Yeah.
And it's a struggle. And like now I do a lot of like self-talk. I do a lot of affirmation things.
So good.
And so, even in speaking in that, my intern, she gave me these black affirmation cards, and you do it every day. And so the affirmation card for today was, it says, "Dear Black man, remember to remain open to the miracles that life has in store for you." And so it's just like I've been trying to do things outside of therapy just to affirm myself.
Yeah.
Because of like how I had to grow up or my lived experience.
Yep. Yep.
And so what I typically try to do is really try to affirm everybody that's around me. I have this moniker at work that I still live by. Is my desire is to motivate, inspire, encourage, empower, and enlighten those that come into my presence, because I don't want people to feel like they're alone, because I know how that feels.
Yeah. Yep.
And I know, what it's like to go through life. Yeah. I'm about to be 50 years old.
Woo! You look good, King.
And it's, a struggle. And so that's, why I kind of sort of do it.
Yeah.
For that particular reason. I tell the kids at work, I had to go through that. I had to have that experience in order to be able to walk with you through your experience.
That's right.
And although it's a bad experience, or what it looks like a bad experience,
perceived to be a bad experience,
I had to go through it in order for me to be able to walk with you through what it is that you
absolutely
are experiencing.
And thank you for sharing that. I mean, I think that it's a true testament of, your faith and your walk with God too, because you like what literally meant, what they say, what is meant for bad, God turned it around
and make it work.
And make it work for your good. And I say you have everything. I always tell people it's so true. You literally have everything inside of you to be able to do the work that you do. And there are different experiences and situations that pull it out of you, but it's already in you. And so to hear you say, I'm doing the positive self-talk, I'm doing the affirmations, and I'm like, you are on track doing your thing, because it's things that we have access to every day.
Yeah.
And we have to make a conscious choice and a decision to say what we will be, what we want our life to look like. And we speak those words to manifest, and it comes to fruition. You don't victimize yourself. You don't say life was hard, woe is me, I can't do it, and same old day No, you like, no, I'm going to live life because what I'm doing is bigger than me. And I think when people realize that revelation, they walk different, they talk different, and they live a different life.
And it's crazy that you say that. And this is just something that really just happened within the last couple of years.
Yep.
And I made the intent. I was listening to Joel Osteen, and he was talking about speaking the I am over your life. And he started talking about like all of these I ams that's in the Bible that God says say that you are. And I'm like, sat there and I thought about it, and I'm just like, I'm gonna wake up every morning, and in my prayer, I'm gonna say I am. I am beautiful. I am loved. I am victoriously. I am fearfully and wonderfully made. And just saying that. And even when I start to go down that rabbit hole of darkness, I start to say it. I start to quote it back. And then even asking God to remove this doubt that's even within me. And a lot of times as men, I don't think that we really embrace these doubtful places that we be in. We'll try to cover it up. And I'm like, I've started to, within the last couple of years started to embrace it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And even saying to myself, I woke up this morning saying to God, when I get in that place where I feel like I'm alone, like remind me that I'm not alone.
Never.
And I may be alone in the physical sense, but I'm not alone because you said that you would never leave me
nor forsake
me. And so it's really positive self-talk.
That's good.
I know you said, like, what are some of the key strategies that can be given? It's like, even if you don't want to do therapy, like changing the way that you speak to yourself.
That's right.
Is going to be very important.
And when you do that, when you change the way that you speak to yourself, you will shift your mindset on how you see yourself, like how you perceive yourself, and then you start teaching other people how you're treated, because now you're setting boundaries. When people be trying to say things in a joking way, I don't play like that. Actually, don't say that. You know, because it's a you versus you kind of thing. And so I think that in regards to what is something that I can do on a daily basis or a weekly basis, like how do you show yourself the love and the care? I know you've spoken on the affirmations and the positive self-talk, but what are some other things that you do to show yourself love and care?
Simple things: work out, take a walk. I remember one day I was in a house, and again, I was feeling in a dark place or whatever, and I'm spiritual. I would say I'm spiritual. And Spirit said, "Go take a walk," and I just went and walked to the store, and just while I was walking, talking to myself. And so it's like also just getting out, getting the sun, getting fresh air.
That's right.
You know, getting out of that dark place that you're in. And most of the time in our dark place, we're always at home. You know, it's supposed to be our safe place, our happy place. We're at home. And so getting out, taking a walk. And then one of the other things that I do is I travel. I take time to like go places. What's one trip that stands out to you the most in terms of like a revelation about yourself, in terms of like, oh, I never saw myself doing this, and when you did it, traveling? I think I find different pieces in every place that I
go. Okay.
But I think my most the trip that had the most impact on me is when I went to Rwanda. And we worked with women who were raped during the genocide. And it was most impactful for me because, I mean, one, we had to talk through a translator. And a couple of things happened. When I first got there, we were walking through the community, and all of these people were just staring at me. And I'm like, why are they looking at me? Why are they staring at me? And I'm like, am I doing something that I should not be doing? Because, you know, it was the Hutus and the Tutsis that started the war. And so I'm like, am I doing something?
What's the name of that movie with Don?
Hotel Rwanda.
Hotel Rwanda. Which
I did see the actual hotel. It is still up.
Really?
And it's still functioning, and people are living in it.
Wow.
As a tourist, that's a spot. But I asked the tour guide, and he said, they're just trying to figure out who you are. And so I'm like, okay. Don't think nothing of it.
Right.
And then we went in the community again, and I'm standing in the community, and it started pouring down raining. So we just had to stand in one spot because we didn't have umbrellas or anything like that. So we just standing under shelter. And this older lady, she just came and she stood by me, and she didn't say anything at all. And I've been raised to respect my elders. And so I didn't say anything to her. I didn't move away because also I'm like, I'm in their country. So I need to show a sign of respect. And so I'm standing there, and I asked the guy again, I'm like, why is she just standing next to me and not somewhere else? And he said, she's just trying to figure out who you are. And then the last thing happened, we were having lunch. We had just did a presentation with the women, and we started talking through the translator. And so the lady asked, "Where are you from?" And I said, "The U.S."
Okay.
And she said, "No, but where are you from?" And I said, "The United States of America, Chicago, Illinois."
Yeah.
Like, okay, lady.
Okay, girl.
And then the guy started to express about the transatlantic slave trade and different things like that. And the lady stopped him in their native language and said, "I know about all of that, but I don't care about all of that. Where are you from here?" And so I sat there and I looked at her and I couldn't answer her.
Yeah, because you don't know.
And she said, "You look like us, so you're from here. You need to come back and you need to learn the language."
How did that make you feel that she said that?
And so I'm sitting there.
She's like, "Clock that tea, lady."
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
But thank you.
Right. Right.
Because I had this notion that from what you learn in America, and what they tell you in America, that in Africa they don't like black people. And it just destroyed all understanding that I previously had about
all your preconceived notions.
You know, about it or whatever. Because it's like that wasn't true. And that was like a sign of I'm wanted. Yeah. Like that's how I felt, like I'm wanted. Yeah. Like somebody want me, somebody see
they want me here, actually.
You know, and it's like a sign that, again, like I'm being seen. Which a lot of times as men, I mean, we're talking about men and mental health, a lot of times we're not seen. And we don't know how to deal with that. Yeah. And a lot of times our choices, or sometimes our choices, I'm not going to say all the time, but sometimes our choices are because we're not seen for like who we are. Yeah.
Because I was going to ask, like, what are some like myths or misconceptions about men and their mental health that we see in mainstream media?
You got to always be okay. And that's one that's like a thing that is like out there constantly. Yeah. That you always got to be okay. You always got to not look weak. You got to look strong. Yeah. Like be tough. Yeah. You know. Yeah. Is one of like the things that frustrates me. You know, and even when I see adults, parents, uncles or whatever, like, you know, telling little kids when they like start crying, "What you crying for? Man up." And I'm like, that person. Yeah. They're human. Yep. They got emotions. Yeah. They got feelings. What
do you tell your young men when they lack the expressive emotions, you know, like because it's not sadness, it's a lot of times anger, a lot of times it's frustration, they're wilding out, you know, it's chaos instead of, so what do you tell them in those moments?
One of the things I try to do is honestly put language to how they feel, and ask them like typically, because I work with teenagers, that I'm mad, I'm angry, and I'm like, okay, what you angry about? And so then we start talking, and I'm like, okay, so is that anger or is it this, or this? Right. And then I give them other words. And oftentimes we don't teach our young people to really be able to express how they feel. They can't express, you know, how they feel. Yeah. In some senses. And so then it's like they always revert to the proverbial anger. Yeah. I'm angry. Yeah. I'm angry. I'm frustrated. Yeah. And it's like, you're not really frustrated, you sad.
Our teens say, "I want to fight."
Right.
Why?
Yeah. 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 You know, you revert to that. Yeah. Because unfortunately, that's what we're teaching them. In the music, in the movies, you know, in the communities that they live in. Yeah. That's what we're teaching them. We're teaching them to be violent with each other. We're teaching them that when somebody make me mad, when somebody make me upset, that I got to fight them. Yeah. And let's have a conversation.
Yeah. Let's just talk about it.
Let's just talk about it. And they don't know how to be okay with not being okay. Like,
Yeah.
And I think that that's one of the biggest things that I try to do is help, students and even sometimes adults.
Yeah.
Like,
the adults need help too.
yeah, it's like it's okay to not be okay. It's okay that it doesn't go your way all the time. And a lot of things didn't go my way.
Yeah.
And I found myself, if you can ask people at church, back in my teenage and my early 20s, they would say that my attitude was worse. It was bad.
What?
And I knew that my attitude and my anger stemmed from not being okay with my mom passing.
Yeah.
And not being able to talk about
Yep.
it. And feeling like nobody had an interest in wanting to know how I felt. And so I responded in anger.
Yep.
Everything was about anger. All of my responses was about anger because I didn't know how to tell somebody how I was feeling.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that little 8-year-old boy turned into this angry, aggressive, and I didn't say aggressive, but like angry, and I would say verbally aggressive. And that's how I took out my anger. It's like I would say things.
Yeah.
You could say hi to me the wrong way, and I'm cussing you out.
That is so crazy because how I see you and how I know you, like I could know you could get people together because you would get us together, but talking about it was worse. Like you are calm, you have reserve, like the disposition that you can, like you laugh, you play, you have fun, you get goofy. And I feel like a lot of times though people don't see it, especially at the school though, because of like how you show up. So it's like layers that have to be peeled back, of course, but in your natural disposition of who you are, it's calm.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's the talking about like the mental health part of it. It was walls.
Yeah.
That I created. And so, and I tell people all the time, it's like, once you get to know me,
yes,
you would really get to see that I'm
No,
this
for
funny
sure.
person. I'm this fun person.
Goofy.
I'm this goofy person. But I got walls built up because of the layers of years that I set. And sometimes it's a choice.
Yeah.
I sat in that anger.
Yeah. Yeah.
I stewed. If you're talking about cooking,
Yeah.
I stewed in that anger. So that was something that I was skilled at. I was skilled at being angry. Like, and I was skilled at like being frustrated and seeing the bad in everything. That was a skill that I developed.
So who poured into you to come out of that?
I remember this deacon.
Okay,
at the
deacon.
church.
I don't know this deacon.
Clarence Crockett.
I know Clarence. Shout
And
out
he
to
said-
Deacon Clarence Crockett.
And I've never told anybody.
No, I've never heard this.
And he said to me one day, "Why are you so angry?" And that's all he said. "Why are you so angry?" And I remember that day I went home and that night I prayed to God and I said, "God, I don't want to be angry no more."
I'm about to.
Because I know that I would push people. I was pushing people
away.
And even to this day, I have a hard time developing meaningful relationships because I didn't go through that process of development. And I think that that's something that we all do, where we go through this developmental stage of relationship building.
Yeah.
And so now, even at 49 years old, and I even tell the students this at work, like I have a hard time developing meaningful relationships because of the stuff in the past that I didn't deal with. And I don't want you to become a 49-year-old me.
Yep.
But it was that conversation.
Wow.
And I went to God and I asked God and I said, "God, I want you to take this anger away from me."
So you woke up the next day and you weren't angry anymore?
And it did not happen.
Wow.
Because I was still angry. And even to this day, like I still wake up sometimes and I'm angry. But I'm being more intentional about how I handle that.
Yeah.
And it was a process.
Yeah.
And for men's mental health, it's not going to change overnight.
Yeah, it's a process.
It's a process.
Thank you for saying that, because when you share that, we know God to be a miracle worker, but you said I woke up, I was still angry, but I'm more intentional about not being angry. I'm making a decision every day to not be angry or to not to allow that anger to overpower me.
Yeah.
Because you want to build meaningful relationships and you want to make these connections and you want people to know you in being a light, not being in a dark place.
Yeah.
Because you shy people away from knowing the true you because all they know you to be is angry. So, yeah. How can communities better support men's mental health beyond just individual therapy or counseling?
I was thinking about this. The word love. Not just saying it, but showing it. I think that's going to be key. One is a healthy balance of saying it and then showing it.
Okay.
I think that's important. I use that word a lot.
What word?
With people, love. And at least for me, I not only say it, but then I also show it.
Yeah, you do.
I think also being open to listen. A lot of times in communities, we and one of my friends mentioned this to me, and he said, "Are you listening to hear or are you listening to respond?" And so, not being so quick to respond when, particularly when the males are saying or given the space to be able to say, "I'm not okay."
Yep.
And really just taking the time to listen.
Yeah.
And not down them.
Yeah.
Oh, what you need to do this, you need to do that.
Yeah.
Like, man up.
Yeah.
Like what you sad about.
Yeah.
F them.
Yeah.
You don't need them nowhere. And it's just like, no, sit with me.
Yeah.
In this.
Yeah.
And so, and I would say particularly men with men.
What about it?
Sitting with each other. When you find your friends in a difficult space, sitting with them.
Yeah.
And being okay, talking with them.
Yeah.
And encouraging them in a healthy way.
Yeah.
Not with the drugs, not with the liquor,
or
because that's just, or with the women. Not just masking what the problem is.
Yep.
Let's deal with the problem. And yeah, I could sip with you and I can smoke with you, but let's still stay with the problem.
Yep.
And so even for us as men and supporting each other, it's like, sit with me in this place that I'm in this dark place, and not feel like I gotta do something. No.
Yep.
I just want you to sit with me.
That's right. And that's it.
And then I think men being comfortable
to do it.
And not like questioning your masculinity or your sexuality when I'm calling you to say, hey, I need to talk.
Yep. Yeah.
And it's not talking about going out. It's not talking about sports. It's not talking about drugs. It's not talking about alcohol. I just need to talk.
Yeah.
I need some reaffirming from the person that should be able to reaffirm me, because you and I are the same.
Yeah.
And women do it very well.
I talk about that all the time. We do it so naturally, building community.
Yeah.
I had recently watched the podcast where Kirk Franklin, DeVal Ellis, Lou, who's a comedian, DC Young Fly, and Country Wayne. They were at Kirk's house, or they were at a venue, and they were just having a round table talk discussion about fatherhood and being a man in general, and it aired on Father's Day. It's almost at like 1 million views, but I just thought that it was so important. I listen to it and I'm a woman, but I'm like, I have a husband and I have relationships with men, and I love to understand like the dynamics that they go through on a day-to-day basis, because they don't have the safe spaces to open up and talk about it all the time. Now, granted, my husband and I, we have our conversations, and he has his circle of other male friendships that he has where they have these open conversations too, just about like life and being a man and carrying all of these roles. But they touched on that about the importance of being able to contact another male. Like, yeah, we have our gripes of going through what we're going through in life. Some of us are husbands, we have fathers and multiple kids, and big family men, and how they're taking care of like their parents, or how they're taking care of their family members, and sometimes they don't even want to pick up the phone to call a fellow friend because they going through stuff too, and they were just holding each other accountable. Like, no, you have my number, call me.
Yeah.
Why is that so hard for us to do?
Yeah. And I think it's I think part of that is like what's ingrained, in you. It's a systemic belief.
Yep.
That like I can get support.
Yep.
From this particular person.
Yeah.
And it's also too, I don't want to say that I'm not okay. And sometimes we mask it as in, oh, they got their stuff going on,
Yeah.
or whatever. Like, and sometimes we don't even give the person the space,
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
to support us.
Yep.
And so it's a bunch of different layers that you have to like work through.
Yeah.
When you're thinking about,
Yeah.
this or whatever.
Yeah. So if you could shift one thing about how society approaches men's mental health over the next decade, what would it be and why? What do you think that would look like if you could shift one thing?
That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
I think it still goes back to the perception that you got to be okay. I think it still stems from that. If we can break that like masculine stigma, if that's appropriate.
Yeah. It's a stigma.
That like you got to be okay all the time. And I mean, like my dad, my dad, like
OZ
Washington, the best that did it. No, just
the best to ever do it.
But like, he just always looked like he was okay. Like, and he never really like showed anything different.
Yeah.
And on the inside, I'm like, man, I know this man dealing with something. Like, you lost your wife.
Yes.
And you had to raise 7 kids.
How many boys?
5 boys and 2 girls.
Yep.
5 boys and 3 girls. So it's 8.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, dude, I know you're not okay. And so it's like, and a lot of the things that I learned from him was just keep it inside. Yeah. And so how do we break that stigma that you don't have to hold it all inside?
Yeah.
That you can let it go.
Is that what you would tell your dad?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be vulnerable. And so over the next 10 years, like if we can teach men how to be vulnerable, and being okay with being vulnerable, I think that we can change the community.
Yeah.
Because what we see now in the community is teenagers.
Yeah.
Inability to be vulnerable. And so if we can do that work, I think that that's going to be key and important to men's mental health.
Yeah.
And being okay with being vulnerable.
Yeah.
In the African community, I remember reading somewhere where anything that happens in the community, they deal with it in the community. They get in a circle and they talk about it. And they talk about how this act affected the community.
Yeah. Whereas how do you think we would respond to that with our culture, right? Like, if you're saying as a community, they do this over here, how we would respond to that would be totally different.
Yeah. Banish you.
Yeah.
Down you.
Yeah.
Make you feel bad. All of these different things that we do instead of just having a conversation and talk about how this has affected the community. We're raising a generation of people right now, male and female, if we want to be honest, that has no respect of person.
Yeah.
Like, it's me.
Yeah.
It's, I don't care. It ain't affecting me.
No care.
And I think that if we change that,
yeah.
We can transform, The aspect of what it means since we're talking about men, what it means to be a male in the community. I think that we need to do more work with our young people, helping them to understand what it means to be a man,
and not to be so quick to give up on them when they do show resistance.
Yeah. Because that's their natural tendency.
Come on,
when
talk
you talk
about
about like teenagers, their natural tendency to be oppositional, to be defiant, to be rebellious. You know, because that's their learning stage. Their brain ain't fully connected.
Come on now.
And so it's like, you know, it's still wiring, it's still growing, it's still maturing. And so they're going to be resistant. And I think a lot of times we're so quick to give up, particularly with our young men. We're quick to give up on them. We're quick to throw in the towel and just say, oh, they're not going to be nothing. They're not going to amount to nothing. Well, if they don't want it, I ain't gonna give it.
That's on them.
I'm gonna give it to somebody else.
Wait a minute. They don't have all the tools yet, guys. Let's not be so quick to throw in the towel on them. Like, give them a chance. When I hear you speak, it's just like, y'all, this is my son's godfather. He's gonna be in great hands. Okay. But I particularly remember when I was pregnant and Will and I were talking about choosing godparents. I immediately thought about you. It was like a no-brainer because I was like, he needs someone in his life. Not saying that, you know, like what people fail to realize, I know like how it probably was done back then. I don't know, but I try to be intentional with everything that I do. So by default, you know, like your best friends will become your children's godparents. But I was so intentional because I was like, I'm looking for a man outside of my husband of who I desire for my son to be. A man of God, family oriented, like how your disposition is like, I'm not one to play with, but also when you peel back the layers of me, like you truly get to see and know who I am, and how you're so knowledgeable, you're wise, you have like you have self-control, you have discipline. Come on. And I know because of the life that I lived that my mom and my dad were not always present, or my aunt wasn't always present to reach me. So I would be delusional to think that nobody else could get to my son but his parents. And I'm like, no, I was always taught it took a village to raise a child as well. So I thought about, who do I want to be a part of my village, whether we are alive or whether we are dead. Who got him? Well, you know, and to know that he is loved, that he is seen, that he is cared for. And like when Michael was having his challenges in daycare, how you would call, how you would check on him, how you would have phone conversations with him, how you would incentivize him, and how you would continue to support us in that and check on us too. You didn't shame us. You didn't condemn us. You would genuinely want to know, like, how is he doing it? How are y'all doing it? How are y'all handling? Now, from my experience, you know what because you work, like you do the work. Why wouldn't you know? So it was like a no-brainer for me. So I just want to say thank you so much for sharing your story.
And to go back to when you said about the godparent. Like, do y'all remember? Like, we were in front of my apartment.
Sitting in the car.
And y'all came and we were sitting in the car. I was sitting in the back seat. And the first question I said was, why are you picking me? And I said, if you're picking me because, like, you just want me to buy gifts and different things like that.
Because we know how you come.
Then I'm not the right person. And I want to be intentional about this. And so that was interesting that you brought that up, because it was the why, like what I would like to do and what I would like to be. And I have godchildren. And over time I've learned to really embrace that role. And what that really means. And so like I appreciate that, like you keep saying like I'm wise and I'm all of these different types of things, and I'm just it's like, that's too much, you know. I don't like a lot of attention.
I know you don't.
You know, I'm like, I just like to be on the back end, behind the scenes.
Who you sound like, babe? He sound like me.
You know, I don't want all that attention. But like I don't take it for granted. none of the work that I'm doing.
Yeah.
And I don't profess to know it all.
Yeah.
I don't profess to have it all together.
Yeah.
I don't profess that my perspective is the right perspective.
Yeah.
This is what guides me.
Yeah.
And my decision making and how I work and how I operate.
Yeah.
I'm open to other perspectives. And I think one of the things that gravitates, that people will gravitate to me is that I also listen, which I think is a big thing.
And you listen to understand.
And with males in general, I think that and just like when I say with teenagers, the biggest thing about teenagers is that they just want to be heard.
Yep.
And I think the biggest thing about men is that we want to be heard.
Yep.
And we don't want to have to feel like we got to have it all together.
Yeah.
I think that sometimes men would want to I say step back, but it's
don't they
be okay with saying I don't have to answer.
Yeah, and not carrying all of the burdens too.
Yeah.
Just constantly stacking it on the man, and they just taking it. Sometimes they want to be allowed to breathe too.
Yeah, and I'm talking about in relationship. I'm not just talking about with husband and wife. I'm talking about husband and wife. I'm talking about brother, sister.
Yep.
I'm talking about
Niece.
uncle and niece. I'm talking about just a friend that one of the things that I value with our relationship is that I know that I can call you, and one, William or Will is confident in his relationship with you and his relationship with me that he has no problem with me being on the phone with you for an hour and we talking. He good. I can watch the game.
I can go downstairs and
play
the game.
And he's okay with that. And I can call you and I can be vulnerable and open and transparent and such with you. And when I get off the phone, there's no difference in opinion. There's no difference in view of how you view me.
That's right.
And I think that that's important as well. For men, that I can be able to have a conversation, particularly with the female, and you not looking at me like I'm weak. Because I'm shedding a tear. And I'm being vulnerable.
Or you frustrated.
Or I'm frustrated. And in that frustration, a lot of times they look at that as weakness because I know for me, when I'm angry, when I'm mad, when I'm sad, when I'm irritated, and I'm talking about it, I'm going to cry. I know that I'm going to do that. And I want to be able to do that with people that I'm comfortable with. That's not going to make me feel any other kind of way about myself. And that it's okay to shed a tear. That's therapeutic. It's therapeutic. I learned that even when you're crying, that's you crying. And then once you're done crying, your brain opens up to the point where you're like, hey, now let me think.
I love a good cry. I'm just saying.
Right. It's you release those toxins, those endorphins or whatever it is that's preventing you from being able to think. And then once you get all of that out, then you sit back and be like, okay, how do I not put myself in this position? What do I need to do so that I can be okay? But we're not taught that. We're not taught how to deal with our emotions in a healthy way. We're better. But we still got a ways to go. It wasn't like it was in the 70s and 80s. Grew up in the 80s, and I'm going to just say, I remember I was in a hospital and I had a cyst the size of a softball on my spleen. And this is how I knew my dad loved me, because he never really used the word.
Okay.
And that's why I say that there has to be a healthy balance of saying it and then showing it. And so he came in the hospital and I had these tubes in my throat and I had IVs in my veins or whatever. And I was laying in the bed and I could not talk because I had this tube in my throat. And my dad came in the hospital and he turned his back on me and he was talking to me. And I'm just looking at him and I couldn't ask the question because I'm like, I couldn't talk because of the tube.
Right.
And when I got out the hospital and I got home and I was in my because my dad died when I was 24.
Okay.
And so this was before, like, I was like 21.
Okay.
And I asked him, I was like, man, dude, like, you know, and this is how we talk, because I didn't call my dad dad.
No.
Because we was raised calling him by his name.
Right.
But then we would have different ways of saying dad, like pops, dude,
okay,
you know,
right.
stuff like that. And so I grew up not calling him by his name, but then as I got older, I'm like, you know, same dude, pops and all of that.
Yeah.
So I'm like, dude, like, you know, when I was in the hospital and like you came and you was talking to me and like you turned your back and like you was talking to me and he didn't use the word I love you. He said, you get a son and you see your son laying in the hospital and there's nothing that you can do to help him.
Yeah.
How would you feel? And instantly it clicked in my head and I'm like, this man loved me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like if I ain't never heard him say it before, like his actions showed that he loved me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and not saying that, like, for a period of time, I thought my dad didn't like me.
Yeah.
Because we had the same attitude. And we always butt heads.
And you reminded him of himself, probably.
I was growing up. And then I was stubborn, just like he was stubborn.
Ooh.
And so we always butted heads. But as I got older and as I began to mature, I'm just like, man, this dude loved me.
Yes.
And it changed our relationship.
Yeah.
That day, when he said that to me, it changed our relationship.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying, like, conversation is important.
Yes.
Like, sometimes it's the actions and sometimes it's the words that, like, I'm just going to say for men, we need to hear and we need to see.
Yeah.
Because it changed the whole scope of how we think
and
how we feel about ourselves.
Absolutely.
So,
that's so good. You guys, listen, wisdom. That's all that I can say. I just want to say, with, you know, at the end of a lot of my episodes, with my relationship with people, I always love to give them their flowers while they are living. And I'm going to try not to get emotional, but because we have so much longevity in history and you have seen me in all seasons of my life, like, when people ask me who my mentor is, without a doubt, I always say you. And I thank God for you. And like, you know, our church and the upbringing and how we have established this relationship outside of church. Like we were co-workers, we were doing the work together, and then we were no longer co-workers and we still stay connected. And so like us making a choice to stay connected really means the world to me. Like when I get quiet, you check on me like, you good?
And you do the same.
Yes. And I appreciate that so much because, you know, a lot of times people's silence can be overlooked, but because you know me and you see me so well, you check on me. You always ask about my husband. Of course, you ask about your godson. You always ask if we need anything. So I'm like, thank you for that. I thank you for all the wisdom and the words of encouragement that you would give me, your relationship with God and how it, you know, comes down onto me, and like the youth ministry, RDJS, all the things I sing, you sing. Yeah, he sing, y'all. He just ain't sing today. But like, just thank you. It is truly an honor to have another male figure in my life to contribute to the woman that I am today.
You're welcome.
Yes, yes. And so that is a wrap on this episode, you guys. Please like, share, comment your favorite part about this episode. Give us some feedback on what you think. Let's have a healthy dialogue in raising awareness for our men's mental health. Men, we love you. We see you. You are cared for. We love you. And we just hope that this episode served as an inspiration. We want you to have some motivation to get up the next day, be inspired, you know, be a light. Keep living, keep learning, keep growing, keep journaling and manifesting all things. Until next time, talk to you guys later.